Hey,
Parody.
what's the? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was asking nature of the questioning. What's is it just banter back and forth or?
Let Pretty much just talking about dad stuff. I'm reading some of your tweets and they're like total dad tweets, man. And just talking about being a dad, life,
Sure.
Waco, being a Texas dad, living in Texas.
Sure.
First of all, thank you very much for joining me. My name is Josh. I'm with TexasDadBlog.com. This is our first ever inaugural podcast, and I'd like to welcome Mr. Joey White, a Texas dad and executive pastor of the Harris Creek Baptist Church. It's a real pleasure to have you on, and thank you very much for being my test dummy for this.
Hey, thanks, Josh, for having me. I'm excited about this.
All right, cool. We're just going to get right into it. First and foremost, if you want, just give me a little introduction, who you are, what you do, how long you've lived in Texas, if you're a native Texan like me, and just give me a little information about yourself.
Yeah, sure. I actually grew up on the West Coast. I'm a Seattle kid. Yeah,
okay. At least you're not from California.
Well, I actually was born in California.
Oh, man. All you Californians.
Born in Northern California, got to Seattle about age 7. Left Seattle, came to Texas for college. My dad was born in Texas, so when I moved here, I felt like, these are my people. It kind of made more sense culturally than where I was in Seattle, but I was still a Seattle kid, still proud to be from Seattle. Went to school out in West Texas and came to work in the Dallas area. So really, I've been in Texas longer than any other stretch of my life. And so I consider myself Texan. If anything, because my dad's got a passport. So yeah. I'm a parent. Obviously, I've got 2 little boys, Lawton and Holden. Holden's going to turn 8 in a couple of weeks. Lawton is 9. It'll be 10 in July. Been in Waco for about 2 years. Prior to that, I lived in New Mexico for about 4. And prior to that, in the Dallas area for about 15. So just a brief spell away from Texas. Waco's great, man. It's a wonderful little community. It's on the rise. I think what's happening in Austin and Dallas is sort of folks are finding more affordable options here in Waco, and it's been pretty neat to see the last couple of years.
So just recently, we went over for the very first time ever to the Waco Zoo, Cameron Park Zoo. It's up on my blog if you want to take a look and read.
But I actually read that, yeah.
Yeah, it was super fun. I never in a million years would think that there was that awesome zoo in Waco, Texas. We have family in Dallas, so we drive past Waco all the time. And my wife was like, "Hey, did you know there's a zoo in Waco?" And I was like, "No."
Yeah.
So we ended up going, and it was just the coolest thing ever. I mean, when I got some information and I was reading up on it, some people said it's better than the San Antonio Zoo. Have you ever been to the San Antonio Zoo?
I haven't. I've been to Fort Worth Zoo, which is world renowned.
Right.
The zoo here, my son actually has gone to zoo camp. They have summer camps, little 1-week bursts, and they have kind of a different focus, if you will. My son loves it, and it's the zoo is kind of housed over near Cameron Park. So you have it's actually I think the second largest publicly or city park outside of Central Park, New York. So a lot of things happen in that corridor, and the zoo is just kind of a placeholder for that. It's really a nice facility.
Yeah, it was super fun, and I really liked it. We had I liked how they had little things for kids to play around while you're like they had a little playscape there by the lions, and they had a slide where the otters were, and it was super cool.
Sure.
Yeah, but other than that, how do you what are your views on being a dad in today's society? I don't know if that's too deep of a question.
No, I think it's a question that I'm always processing. My wife and I were just having a conversation last night about some things. Our boys are 18 months apart. We play a lot of sports here. One, because we're fans and the boys are athletic, but partly it's just keeping them active. It's been real difficult in the day of kind of when I grew up, we didn't have obviously smartphones, really didn't have the internet, to be honest with you.
Right.
So the boys are the constant stimulation of they use iPads at their school to coming home. So we love sports because it gets them out of the house, gets them just working out a little bit, and
Yeah.
also it feeds their imagination. And so I think that's one thing that we're processing as parents is how do we help our kids continue to use their imagination? And oftentimes computer games, Xbox, that sort of thing sort of robs them of that capability, I think.
Right.
And so that's probably the one thing that we're not really struggling, but just constantly talking about how to strike a balance between maybe using computers and gaming consoles as a currency rather than just a babysitter. So
right.
That's something that we've been working hard on that. So.
I totally feel you. My son, he's 5. I have 3, a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 9-month-old.
Wow.
And my 5-year-old, he loves playing Xbox and loves playing Minecraft.
Yep.
So what we do to try and limit it is we try and only play on Friday evenings,
right.
since that's kind of his reward for getting through the week, doing all his homework, making sure all his chores are done, his room's picked up. Once all that's done and his brother's asleep, because his brother goes to sleep about 7:30, 8 o'clock. Once he's asleep, we get to play a little bit of Xbox, and him and I have to spend a little time together, a little alone time. And we try to use that, like, hey, if you're not acting right during the week, if you're not doing your homework, if you're not cleaning up like we ask you to, we're not going to be able to play Xbox.
It's sneaky, right? They have no idea. They think it's just a pure gift, but really it's leverage if you think about it. And it's, you don't want to make it punitive all the time, but it's something you have to do. In the summertime, what's hard is my wife's an educator, so she's home all day with them, and we're just 3,000 degrees outside here in Waco. They want to go outside and they play a lot, but there just comes a point where they're about to pass out. So, I imagine the summertime will be a little different, but it's always, like you said in your blog or just tracking your social media stream, it's always a challenge finding outlets to get kids out of the house or away from that sort of thing and have them engaged. So it's a struggle. So that's why I picked up on your blogs, because we're 90 minutes from Austin. We have family in Austin. So you got to think regionally when it comes to just finding opportunities for the kids.
Yeah, definitely. I really appreciate that. And I was taking a look at your Instagram page here, and I see that you and I are both Ken Griffey Jr. fans.
Yes.
Growing up, I idolized that dude, and he was my favorite baseball player ever. When I was younger, I played a little baseball, and I did t-ball, and then all through junior high, and I kind of stopped it around the high school time. I wish I should have kept going, but it was fun. I loved playing baseball, and that's kind of something I wanted to do with my son is play baseball. But at such a young age, it's kind of hard to get him involved in that, because now, I don't know if when you were younger, but now when I was younger, we played to win, and now everyone gets a trophy, everyone gets a medal, everyone gets a turn. I don't know. What do you think of that?
Well, I think early on there's a benefit of just participation, getting them out there and learning how to lose. And you can lose without a score. Kids are not dumb, right? They're keeping score in their head. I've coached for years, and you can keep reinforcing there's not a winner or loser in this game. But deep down inside that more balls win in the net than the other team, or more runs cross the plate. So eventually they're going to have plenty of years to quote win or lose. So early on, I think it's just getting them out, learning how to interact. Oftentimes if they're the only kid or the oldest child, they've had their way. So this is a chance to kind of like they're just grooming them for, soon to be adulthood.
Right.
But I'm a firm believer that there are consequences for when you don't play well, for when you don't work hard. That's how real life is. And so I know that our society is tending to drift maybe more and more towards everyone wins. You can probably dissect that conversation 6 different ways, but at the end of the day, the government, your employer, your spouse, they're going to have expectations on you. And so I think that sports is a great way to have fun and do that, where schooling is, especially here in Texas, is so the pressure for testing and grades and that sort of thing. So it's a way
definitely.
It's a way to complement that. And we've enjoyed over the years just seeing our kids fail and succeed and helping them process through that. So
my son, actually, the first sport he ever played was soccer, because that's the youngest, I think, age that you can play, or kids can join. So he was playing with the local YMCA here in Austin, and I'd have to say, man, those the girls were way more competitive than the boys on that league, and it was fun to watch because when they're so young, they just kind of like all run in like
it's
circles.
The herd mentality, right? It's like a me, but my oldest would just run circles around the block. So he would just he didn't know what to do. He didn't know if he should join the scrum or just orbit the scrum. But girls are obviously a little more advanced, a little taller sometimes. Here in Waco, we found, I imagine probably every town has this, but there's usually a culture of everybody wins. There's a league that kind of supports that, and there's the leagues that are ultra competitive, and it's hard finding that balance. But early on, you just throw them in, and if the kids got competitive nature, then run with that and foster that. So
So if you don't mind me asking, how did you come to be an executive pastor there with Harris Creek?
Well, the story starts a long time ago. I was my dad was a pastor. I never really thought I would follow in his footsteps, and I really haven't. The role that I have is more of a kind of vision execution, staff development, finances, facilities. I really enjoy that. That's kind of how I operate. But I've got a business degree in college, worked in the retirement industry for a number of years before I jumped into the church world. And, it was something I felt God was putting a calling on my life. It wasn't just a job. It was going to be about who I was. And, it's been an incredible journey of lots of ups and downs. But to serve in a world where you are forced to think outside of yourself and helping others to think through that as well, that's a real treasure. This world's full of way too many situations where we're just kind of forcing people to drill down on their own needs and their own desires. And so I get a chance to kind of influence to the opposite of that. And so it's taken me all over the world.
That's awesome.
We launched a London institute or training institute in England this coming summer. And so I've had an opportunity to, and the boys, what's been great about that, they're seeing all this. And so they're realizing there's life beyond Waco, there's life beyond their little bubble, and there's life beyond even Texas, believe it or not.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So that's been really kind of cool. I guess additional impact I wasn't counting on was having them have a broader worldview, that not everyone's white, not everyone speaks English, not everyone lives in a free country. And so it's been pretty neat.
My wife actually works at a small Baptist church here in Austin. So my oldest son gets to go with her. So he goes to they have like a little youth program that they have for the younger kids, and there's a director of, I think, something. Right.
I forget the title. Children's minister or something.
Yeah, children's ministry or something like that. So he goes and he comes home every Sunday and talks about what he learns. And we're Catholic,
right?
But I mean, she works there. He's getting to know, a God. So, he's getting to know about God. So I was kind of like, I'm not gonna say no, you can't go. Or, no, we have to go to a Catholic church. It's just kind of, and I've been to service and there too. So I mean, I don't have any discrimination or anything like that. So it's kind of like letting him view that there are other religions that not necessarily.
It's important to foster that because especially the Texas, the Southwest part of the United States, there is people tend to identify with their church, and that's kind of defines who they are. So if you're born Catholic, guess what? You're Catholic. If you're born in a Baptist church, then you're Baptist. But in reality, God is not necessarily a God of denominations. And so helping your kid think critically, and understanding the similarities and the overlap and of course the differences is something that we've challenged our boys to have a faith that is their own. Obviously we're guiding them in that conversation and challenging them, but at the end of the day, if they don't have a faith that is their own, they don't have a faith at all, and they can't live life on mom and dad's heritage or their heritage. So that's a conversation probably for another day as a pastor. But as part of developing, I think, young boys is helping them understand who they are spiritually, because the world's full of a lot of little boys that grew up to be big men that are chasing the shadows of, what their dad's expectations were, or who they think they need to be. And we want them to know that God is a God that loves them, and in their flaws and in their successes. So,
thank you. I really appreciate that, man. I'm now switching to some topics to one of your tweets that I just read. Okay. Right before we logged on, or I was logged on waiting for you, and I was just kind of scrolling through your timeline, your Twitter timeline. Why?
Oh gosh!
Why is it that you don't like any of the Adele parody videos anymore?
Dude, it's it's funny. Like one of the ministry principles of our church is great. We believe in creating over reproducing, and this world's just full of just copycats. Churches do it, individuals do it. Pop culture sort of reinforces that. So when someone gets creative and does an Adele video, and it's like everyone's like, "Oh, he proposed," or he took his wife to a concert in Minnesota, and is telling her about the tickets to the song. That's great. But after about the third, fourth, fifth version of that, it's just like, come on, people, like let's think on our own for once, And so yes, my cynicism. I'm getting old. 42 is not being good, I guess. So yeah, my Twitter feed can be a little sarcastic at times, and I probably should check that a little bit. But we like Adele in our house, the boys.
Right.
She's British, and so we try to sing our best Adele voices and our prepubescent voice, and Dad's terrible crooning voice. But yeah, I just get a kick out of those whole videos. I'm like, come on, people, it's done, it's enough. So.
That's funny, man. I really enjoy reading other tweets by fathers, because some of them are just stuff that you can relate to. It's like, man, like I feel you on that one. Like I know what you mean, and it's funny to watch, to see. And I just, when you started following me on social media, I was just like, hey, this guy, I need to get him on here. I need to talk to him, at least once throughout throughout time, and hopefully there's a whole bunch of kids stuff coming up during like South by Southwest during the with spring break or whatever, and there's a whole bunch of I'm going to be posting it on my blog, so
cool.
Maybe if you can make it out this way, we can meet sometime soon.
So we have grandparents down there in Dripping Springs, and aunts and uncles that live actually just up the hill from Zilker, so they have a completely different take on South by Southwest. They hate it because their quiet little house in Barton Hills is now, it's just they go to Colorado, I think, for that whole stretch. But we'll make it down there, and I think anything that I pick up here in Waco, I'll be more than happy to pass it along. Waco's getting better about that. So, yeah.
Are you a Baylor fan?
I work in Waco, so I'm a Baylor fan. How's that? Actually, I'm married an Aggie.
Okay.
Yeah, so I went to a small Baptist school out in the Panhandle, but I'm married an Aggie. So she has a really – it's just sometimes she gets a little frustrated, I think, because there's such a Baylor-Aggie divide, apparently. And obviously the Longhorns, that's a different situation altogether. And but, yeah, I think for – what I'm learning is this: Baylor's a great university. The students we have a ton of students at our church that are Baylor students, so they're fantastic students. And I'll tell you this: if Baylor does well, Waco does well. Yeah. I'm not sure if Waco likes to say that a lot, but I think it's just evident. But Baylor's done really well the last 5 years, and so I think Waco has trended along with them, and so that's only good things. Like echoing what you said earlier about driving through Waco, all those years we lived in Dallas, and we'd drive to Austin to see family. You didn't stop in Waco. You didn't want to stop in Waco, but now this town is downtown's coming alive. And so I think people are figuring that out. Of course, Magnolia Farms and all that. The show Fixer Upper has really, it's really kind of put things on its head. So it's kind of cool. So.
When we were there at Cameron Park Zoo, we went to go eat at, based on the recommendation of one of the employees at the zoo, Double R Burger. And like, that was, I found it and I was like, what is this? It's is this the place? And like, it was my wife, my 3 kids, and my mom. and myself. So there were 6 of us, and we all tried to like jam pack ourselves into that tiny little.
For 6 there, I don't think. Maybe on the side dining area. But
so like packed. we walked in, we ordered, and then like we had to go. And when we were getting there, another large group got there, and they stole our table, and we're like, now where do we sit? So like we had to put 2 together, and we sat there and we ate, and it was like the best burger I've had in a while. I was like, man, this is good.
It's got some grease content. That's good. Yeah.
And well, now we're trying to with our New Year's resolution, we're trying to watch what we eat and our weight and stuff like that. But when we went to Cameron Park Zoo, it was just like a free for all. I had like the double with cheese and like fries and everything. And
you probably earned it, right?
Yeah, even my mom was like, "Man, this is a good burger." I was like, "You know what? We need to stop." And I went to Dallas shortly after, and I told my wife, I was like, I'm going to stop at Double R Burger. She's like, I'm not going to like you if you stop there without me.
What's funny about Waco is that for a college town, Austin is known for a number of things, right? But the food is phenomenal in Austin. And I can think of places like in College Station that are just top notch. Waco, for some reason, there just hasn't been, from what I can tell, a lot of like kind of college town dives that you would say this is a place you have to go. We have a couple, but Double R for me was like one of those places that you would expect to see in a college town, and they do well. So it's a great. And
right before we went, like I was on their Facebook page, and they would post updates like, "We're closed today. Like, don't come in." And I was like, so like when we were there, I called. I was like, "Are y'all gonna be open today?" Because on your Facebook page, sometimes y'all put, we're not open today, or we're closed today.
Right.
And then they're like, no, we're going to be open today. And I was like, all right, cool. Like we'll be there after a while. So we went to the zoo in the morning. We came and ate Double R, and then we drove home, and it was a cool little day trip.
Well, there's just for those who are watching that may want to take a trip up here to Waco or other way to Dallas, the whole Cameron Park area. So I'm not sure the street that where kind of Cameron Park entrance is a bridge right there at the Brazos. If you go under the bridge, there's a whole river walk area with parks, splash pads, all up and down on the south side of the Brazos. And so the city's really putting a lot of money into that in the future to kind of stretch it all the way to McLean Stadium. So if you're looking for like a kind of frisbee golf or just some splash pad opportunities and some old growth trees, really a nice area. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think we drove over that area, headed back south. So I saw it and I was like, man, this looks cool. I want to stop by when we had more, like if we have more time. But yeah, other than that, I see you have something coming up on the January 27th. You want to talk about that real quick? Or
the Imagine Banquet? What is that?
I think it's
what is that, Wednesday?
We're 5 days away. Yeah. It's a night of celebration and reflection.
Our church every year gets together and we forecast for the year and celebrate the past 12. And so it's a chance for us to kind of chart the course and celebrate all that has happened through our church. We're building a new sanctuary. We're trying to, at least. And so we feel like as a church, an organization, it's good to celebrate, look back. I think it's good for families to do the same thing. You get sucked into the moment and you're in that grind and you don't get a chance to pause and say, okay, we've been blessed this year, or hey, we've made through some real perils, and we're thankful that maybe Thanksgiving is kind of that time, but I think even Thanksgiving sometimes gets pretty mechanical. So this is a way for our church to sort of look to the future and say, hey, let's go get it. Let's tackle the task at hand. But so it's a fun night. We have a lot of some cool videos. You go to our church website, harriscreek.org, and see what will come out of that. But it'll be a lot of fun.
That's cool. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. Yeah. I don't want to keep you any longer or any more time. If ever you want to come back on, just let me know and we can chat. If you have something you want to talk about.
Anytime. We can talk about parenting. We can talk about raising boys. We can talk about just whatever. I'd be more.
Oh, real quick. What do you? Let me ask you this. What are your top 5 raising boys things? Like what are things boys are gonna do that they're just boys are just gonna do that versus having a girl or having any of when they're smaller. Yeah, for me, like one of mine is we're gonna pee on the seat. Like It's just gonna happen. We're not gonna like. I still do it. Boys are gonna pee on the seat. Like it's inevitable. Do you have any of those?
I'm sure my wife would
maybe...
have 5 immediately. I think for us, it's outside of those little things, but that's just all the time. But I think boys need to know that that they can be men of strength, like validating them. I think a lot of guys, a lot of boys go through life and dad doesn't hug them, doesn't tell them he loves them, doesn't tell him he's proud of them. And your boys should not have to earn that. That should just be provided, So that's the first thing. I said the second thing is not every boy's rough and tumble, not every boy's athletic, but whatever that child gravitates toward, man, you just got to revel in that and celebrate that because that'll give him confidence to try new things. Thirdly, I think a good, healthy, female presence in their life, because they've got to see a model of not only how to be a man, but who maybe they want to be with later on in life. And so I think a good, healthy mom influence is just hugely important. And I think a sense of adventure. I find myself a lot saying, be careful, like don't hurt yourself. But I look back and maybe cringe a little bit how many times I've said that. And I've just got to say, you know what? They're boys. They got to be respectful. They can't do stupid things, right? But if they're challenging boundaries a little bit in terms of like just risking their health maybe, or climbing that extra rung on the ladder, or jumping a little further, that's okay. Like if you don't help them do those little things, that they won't take risks. They won't accept change when they're later in life. And we know as adults that those opportunities are sometimes thrust upon us. Right. And if we weren't given an opportunity to fail and given an opportunity to take risks in a safe place, we're not going to do it when we're adults and leading a family. So I think for young boys who we want to be leaders in their own right, that's a big thing, is just helping them with that. And so like one thing I'm working hard on right now with my oldest is he gets kind of paralyzed when he analyzes things. And so he doesn't want to make a wrong decision because he's a pleaser. And I've just said, man, make a decision, you run with it, and you be confident. And whatever happens, Dad's going to be here for you. So that's probably I guess that's 4, but that's kind of the big things for us.
No problem. Yeah. I that last thing, I just kind of, just to touch on that, I just, I always reassure my oldest boy, because I guess it's the oldest child, the oldest child syndrome kind of thing, where they need to, please both mom and dad and everyone. And he has such a huge heart, and he's so kind. But I think that's a general characteristic of a first child. But I'm just like, dude, I'm always going to be here for you no matter what. Like, it doesn't matter what you do, where you're at, whatever. And I always have to kind of reassure. I like to reassure him that no matter what he does, we'll be here, and I'm going to be here, and so is his mom, and so is his grandma. Right. So, and grandparents. So
the one thing is as parents, dads, parents, if you're a single parent, it makes no difference. You're parenting your child. Each child has their own currency. Yeah. So for some kids, it's physical touch, just hugging on them. For some kids, it's words of affirmation. For others, it's quality time. And that will pop up in adult relationships. Like, we want to love and care for the people around us the way we want to be loved, but deep down, that other person may not feel as loved through that. So our kids are no different. So identify what you feel they feel most loved from, and you just use that. So if my oldest sees a quality time kids, I'm not very patient, so I have to really force myself to almost create like date opportunities, if you will, where he and I spend time together, because that's what he wants. My youngest, man, if we're laying on the couch, he jumps on top of me. That's his thing. It's just physical touch. So man, if I throw a 5th on there, figure that out pretty quick as a parent and run with it. So
all right, man. Again, I really appreciate it, Joey.
You're welcome, man. Thank you.
I'm actually gonna post this on the website. I think I'm gonna upload it to YouTube, and you'll be able to, if you want to, you can definitely share it. It's gonna go on my social media pages, and you'll be able to see it and listen to our conversation too. I have to create at least 5 podcasts to upload it to iTunes so they can be downloadable. Okay. So I got a couple more lined up in the next coming week. So once they're all up, I'll let you know when this one's up to be downloaded.
Anytime we want, just find a topic you want to talk, we'll sit down and have that. Okay.
All right. I really appreciate it, man. You have a good day.
Take care, Josh. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.